Welcome to Stories Along the Carson Colorado line. This one happened in the bad winter of 1889-1890 and is presented through the eyes of R.J. Laws, Assistant Superintendent of the Carson Colorado Railroad. Will the mountains ever get a break from the snow, R.J. wonders, as he glances over the news in last Friday's Alta California. Railroads are stuck in the Sierra Nevada snow, and the newspapers wonder about the progress of the crazy lady, Nellie Bly, who wants to break the fictitious 80-hour record around the world, the one Jules Verne's put in his novel. RJ can't wipe the sarcastic smile off his face, thinking that this California winter is not on her side. Instantly, unease wallows up. Will the road hold up? The people out there, so remote and far away from everything, they depend on me and the railroad for survival. Will we be able to keep the road open? He feels the load on his shoulders and lines deepen on his forehead. A smile creeps up. The snowplow had been a wise investment. It's been going non-stop between Hamel and Belleville. A pang of pride bubbles up. His road remained open despite the never-ending snow. His trains have been delivering coal and food for folks to stay warm and not starve. Many other railroads can't say the same, especially in California. But will this luck continue? Doubts shake him. Recent newspaper reports from Owens Valley speak of true railroad nightmares. Snow runoff, swelling up creeks and flooding the plains during the day and freezing over by night. Excessive runoff may mean trouble for the railroad bed in regions where the river comes close to it. Snow can be plowed off the road, but too much water is simply unpredictable. The pit in his stomach grows. Watching out of his office window in Hawthorne, he is surprised to see women prune their roses and trees. RJ walks out and is surprised by the warmth of the sun as she peeks out behind the fast-moving clouds. Maybe this is a good week to check on the road's condition. Make sure the section crews followed my orders to the fullest. There's no better way to do this than with my own eyes. Okay, Tuesday evening train going south. That's it. Good that it's only Monday. I have a day to get ready. Better hurry. Tuesday evening came quicker than RJ wanted. They'd have to stay in Belleville the night before continuing south on Wednesday morning. Additional crew was added as RJ expected work on the road may need to get done. Needed tools and extra fuel and food was loaded. They were prepared for what may come. The ride to Belleville was uneventful. All culverts were in good working order and would withstand the expected. But would they hold when faced with the unusual floods that were happening in California? After a hot afternoon's work, RJ invited his men to dinner before retiring for the evening. No, he would not spend the night with them in the bar, and hoped they would retire too. RJ sensed the weather may not hold. Wednesday morning, long before the scheduled departure, RJ went to the depot. He was curious about the snowplow, an ingenious tool. The constant reports out of California and from the Central Railroad of getting trains stuck in snowdrifts seriously concerned him. The men rolled their eyes when he requested to load more fuel and food in Belleville, but he simply wanted to be prepared. By 8 a.m., the locomotive was warmed up and ready to go, and so were the plow and his crew. If only the few passengers would show up. The clock struck 8:30 and the train's whistle signaled go. The train moved slowly up the 2% grade past Candelaria Junction and headed for Basalt. Culverts were found in good order. RJ had to admit to himself the section crew did have their eyes on them. The sky had turned to a steel gray blue and the wind was howling as the train snaked up to Summit, which was at a lofty height of almost 7,200 feet. The road was windy with several hairpin turns. He made the train stop several times. He had to personally inspect the culverts and vaults. He needed to assure himself, more than anyone else, that the road through the mountains will remain passable. RJ looked for any signs of earth movement and rock slippage. He couldn't be too careful. Same on the downhill side. Here the grade was not only steeper, many more ravines and washes threatened the stability of the road. After the last main curve on the descent into Hamel Valley, RJ started to relax, hoping the worst is behind them. Leaving Bishop Creek, his eyes wandered over the flats of Owens Valley. The ominous gray sky reflected off the frozen grounds. Was this water frozen on solid ground, or sheets of ice on lakes or marshes? RJ had never seen the valley like this. Aside the cold, it gave him chills up his spine. The road was now meandering on the east side of the valley. He feared the Owens River may be getting close to the road in some of the sections to come. Hanging out in the caboose, RJ watched the barely visible sun creep behind the snow-covered crest of the Sierra Nevada. The train was running late, he knew. And he knew passengers were eager to get home. Safely though, he thought. When all of a sudden, the whistle signaled a stop and the train slowed down. RJ realized they were in a section where the river is close to the road, although he didn't think this was a particularly challenging location. Why did the engineer stop the train? Puzzled, RJ went to the front. Ready to question the engineer, his jaw dropped when he saw the chasm where before the railroad bed had been. The mighty forces of the Owens River had washed away its bank and seriously destabilized the roadbed. The tracks were in danger of being washed away. The train could not pass this. Oh boy, this would be a real delay now. Good that he had prepared. RJ surveyed the situation. The engineer said they were just about 4 miles north of Kearsarge station. A man was sent on foot to the station to inform of the extended delay. RJ and his crew got busy shoring up the railroad bed. Darkness settled around them. The bitter cold wind slowly died down, while the freezing wet cold from the river took over. In the dim light of the lanterns, the crew searched for rocks to hold in the gravel between the wooden pillars they had pounded into the ground. RJ wasn't sure it would hold and made the crew add another layer of reinforcement. They started to get grumpy. They could no longer ward off the cold. When finally done, it was pitch black dark. In the caboose around the glowing stove, the crew pulled off their gloves, frozen stiff. RJ made sure everyone got hot coffee. He had yearned for it for hours. Slurping gingerly his hot coffee at the door of the caboose, RJ heard weird sounds. Was that a coyote in the distance? He was about to give the engineer the signal to go. But what was he hearing? Animal sounds or a human cry? He made everyone quiet down and listen. The sounds became stronger, clearer. Definitely not coyote. Was that a man yelling for help? Jesus! Why here? Why now? Who on earth is out here at this time? Oh no, RJ didn't want to go back out in the dark, in the freezing cold. Could he ignore the cries? No, absolutely not. He asked for volunteers. Every one of his men stepped up, without hesitation. Out here in the middle of nowhere, there was no hesitation. It was a question of survival. Lanterns were relit, gloves, boots, jackets donned, and one after the other jumped off the train. Now, where was the voice coming from? In the dark, we need to be smart and stay safe to rescue the poor guy. The crew split up in 3 groups of 3 and agreed to stay within the distance of their lantern lights. Navigating the marshy land in the dark was not easy. All of a sudden, RJ's group lost sight of the lantern light to their right, just to instantly hear yelps and curses. The men had broken through ice, sunken breast deep into icy water. The poor guy's cries grew closer and weaker. They had to hurry. Breaking through ice no longer mattered. All focus was on finding the guy. They must be close. To his left, RJ hears a big yelp. Bob, next to him, is hip deep in water, but triumphantly exclaims he sees the poor guy. The guy is almost unconscious. They slap him to wake him up. He looks at them and lets his head flop down. They know they need to keep him awake and need to get him as fast as possible to the worms of the train. The whole crew is here now, rotating in and out, helping, making sure to get back to the train. The poor guy is frozen stiff when they finally make it back to the caboose. And so are most of his crew. Their garments are soaked with ice water, freezing them alive. RJ thanks his foresight to add extra fuel. The caboose was a sight never seen before. All were trying to get warm. Some were stripping off their clothes. Pants stood on their own, without the men inside. The lucky ones who had not plunged into ice water now cared for their fellow crew members or the rescued poor guy. He was closest to the stove, stripped off his clothes and vigorously massaged to return his circulation. Slowly he warmed and recovered his senses. Halfway to Kearsarge, he told RJ his name was Henry Levy before sinking back into unconsciousness. The crew continued the vigor to get him thoroughly warmed, and as the train pulled into Kearsarge, Henry smiled wearily at them. Slowly, with help, Henry shuffled off the train as the crew was waving goodbye. A wagon waiting for him would take him home. RJ and the train crew were eager to find out what had happened. Why had Henry been out there? How had he come into this dangerous predicament? Nothing made sense to them. The station master told them that Henry had wanted to get his patrons off the train to shorten their delay, but did not know more. He promised to find out what happened after Henry had left the station. But they would have to wait until they came back to Kearsarge on their return trip north. Their day wasn't over yet. 2 more hours to Keeler. The bar in Keeler was a beacon of warmth on this freezing day in January of 1890, even for R.J. Laws, Assistant Superintendent of the Carson Colorado Railroad. He was proud of his railroad crew. He knew now for certain he can rely on them. Why did he ever question that? Do you wonder what happened? Why Henry was out there? Stay tuned for the next video along these storylines. There is an actual article in the New Independent, and I'll talk about Henry's perspective next time around. Stay tuned. Please like, please share, please comment. Thank you for watching. We hope you enjoy this little excursion.